Hello everybody and welcome to this week's live stream Q&A. Today we'll be going over Quest Speedrunning as a focus, but we do have some general questions, a bunch of announcements and some content to share. I'll be your host, Mods Ayiza, and I think this is the first time in 3 months that I've appeared on stream, so apologies for being a bit of a stranger, but I've had a lot of things going on in the background, but it is great to be here. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy today's stream. I'm joined by the absolute fantastic Mod Ed. How are you doing today, Ed?
Absolutely fantastic. That's very kind of you to say. Have I done something warranting that, or
just being you, Ed, is absolutely fantastic, isn't it, mate?
well, after that, I'm feeling great now.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Is there anything that you want to share that you've been up to this week? Anything interesting, exciting, or maybe not so exciting, but you want to share anyway?
Well, we did put some Quest Speedrunning Worlds live this week, and being Quest related, obviously I had to show up and get involved with all that stuff. Couldn't miss out on anything Quest related.
Well, of course, the master of quests himself. All right, thanks, Ed. We are also joined by the absolutely fabulously wonderful mod Kieren. How are you doing today, Kieren?
Oh, hell yeah. Keep these compliments coming, Ayiza.
I'll try to think of one next, so give me some time.
I'm feeling good. It's been a really fun week. We are talking about our exciting reveal stuff, so it's all ooh.
Ooh, okay, all right. Keep your secrets for now. Thank you, Kieren. And also the awesomely brilliant mod Rock. How are you doing today, Rock?
Well, to be fair, I expected you to go and Rock.
I was considering it, but I thought, I won't do that to you. The first time back in 3 months, I got to put on a good face at least for now.
I think it's been longer since I've been on the stream than it was for you since the PvP roundtable before then. So yeah, it's been a while, but we're all good.
Good stuff. Anything exciting that you want to share from the week, or not?
Got 94 fish in. Hit my last weight goal in my weight loss journey, so doing pretty well.
Oh yeah! All right, that's pretty nice. Well, good progress. Keep it up. All right, I guess I'll jump into the announcements because we've got a couple to get through. First of all, ! Game update. Well, if you hadn't already guessed it, this week's update did bring about Quest Speedrunning. It's what we're also here to talk about. You can find out everything to do with Quest Speedrunning, as well as some of the tweaks that we made to Tombs of Massacre in our latest update. Again, that is ! Game update. Now, following on from there, we have ! WBR. It's actually time to cast your vote because the Wilderness Boss Rework rewards are being polled right now. That poll is due to close on Monday. So if you haven't already, head over to a poll booth in-game or open up your account settings panel and you can vote from anywhere. You can also read all about all the changes that we've made and to the rewards and such that will be coming out in the blog with ! WBR. And then lastly, in terms of our announcements for today, we have ! WRT. Ooh, scary words. But recently, discussions involving certain activities within Oldschool RuneScape have become a little bit more prevalent. So we just wanted to take an opportunity to reaffirm our stance and highlight the game rules. You can find out all the details in ! WRT. Now, before we go into the questions, there are a couple of graphical things, content that we want to share with you. First of all is the Fresh Start Worlds Week 1 Countdown trailer. So we have just published a beautiful piece, which was actually made in collaboration, or entirely, in fact, by The Schooled, who is a very, very, very talented creator, which we would love to share with you. We are actually celebrating the countdown to Fresh Start Worlds in less than a week. So if anyone fancies a little nostalgic walk through Tutorial Island, feast your eyes on this absolute masterpiece. Take it away, Modspear. Well, what an absolutely amazing little piece of content there. It's kind of like old school in VR with a few little nods to the community. Now, before I let the rest of the mods talk about what we've just seen, let me just correct the previous command. That is !RWT for real world trade. I apologize, but thank you for increasing our chat engagement. I do massively appreciate it. What do you think, everyone, of the Fresh Start World Trader that the school put together for us?
I want to put it in game. Just throw a video in game, something like that. It's pretty cool.
It's sort of incredible to see how far YouTube creators have come. Like, compared to this is no disrespect to the content that was being made on YouTube in 2007, because my god, like the RSMVs of that year and so on.
Kieren, I hope you're not about to
God.
criticize the 2007 music videos.
No.
Maybe he's
No,
criticizing
they're great.
Fairy Tales RS.
I was going to say, isn't it kind of just like
Unbelievable.
narcissistic there a little bit?
But the quality and what's being created today is just insane, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
It's professional levels of talent nowadays, and it really goes to show.
Or a great piece. I mean, if any of you out there have been thinking about getting back into the game, now really is the time. And as we said, in just under a week, we will be launching brand new worlds, which means a fresh economy with fresh players. Just think of all the shrimp that are going to be burnt over the course of the first few days. If you want to see that video again, use !FSW. Did make sure that was correct this time, and you'll find it over on our YouTube channel. And hey, you know, if you really like it, maybe throw a thumbs up so YouTube algorithm can pick it up and share the world to the rest of the gamers out there. Now, moving on to Quest Speedrunning, we have been absolutely amazed by the displays of tick precision and dedication so far, considering it literally came out yesterday. Some people have been absolutely smashing it when it comes to getting trophies. So we'd like to share some highlights so far and shout out the excellent communities we've seen thriving as a result of the update. So first up, I believe we have an image which is from Solo Mission. There we are. Congratulations, Solo Mission, on his first Platinum Speedrun trophy. Woo! That was really underwhelming, but it's pretty poggers.
We're all pogging off. It's so impressive.
You got it. Oh, look, Ed, looks like you're about to say something, and I'm not sure whether I wait for the delay or just go to the next picture.
It's so amazing, I'm speechless.
Okay, all right. Let's move on
No,
to
it is
the next
amazing.
image. Oh, go on.
The compost strats for Cook's assistant. that made us all like, oh, that's next level thinking, big brain stuff.
That is true, and the imp strategy as well, which I thought was pretty damn good. But there's plenty. I'm sure we're going to see plenty of things like that coming out. And talking about plenty of tech, I'm sure this one is going to be bringing forward quite a lot of new tech and some interesting tactics, because the next image we have here is from the Summit, which is actually for their speedrunning competition. So this is going on this week. It's hosted by Bonerator and sponsored by the Summit Discord community. So if you want to get involved, head over to @the__summit and take a look at the post that they have there for all of the information. As you can see, the fastest submission for each quest will win a bond, and 3 random submissions will win a bond as well. So you have a chance to also get involved and win something, even if you're not the absolute fastest of them all. Awesome, thank you for that. We also have a command actually. So if you want to use !competition, you'll be able to get a link straight to the speedrunning Discord where you can participate within there. So that's probably the best way. !competition. You'll get a link to the speedrun Discord and you'll be able to find all the details. All right, now we have this other image. I think there's 2 here, which is in regards to the community that is growing within speedrun.com. So there is now an official section within there. I believe there has been for a while anyway, in terms of the free-to-play Champions Guild and some pay-to-play parts. But with the Quest integration, we now have that. So speedrun.com/OSRS, and it is, as we said, a community, a really good one actually, where the old school speedrunning players are coming together. They manage that page, and really it's just a place that you can get involved to discuss speedrunning in old school and submit your own best times. They're also contactable through Discord, so to be sure to check them out. use !speedrun for more information on that. So you can do !speedrun for the Discord, or head over to speedrun.com/OSRS. And then we have, next up is something in regards to the global best time so far. So a quick recap of what we've seen. Now this was at the time of us making the image. We don't just make them within a millisecond of the stream going live. So they could be a little bit dated now, but at the time of making them, this is what we were seeing. So any kind of like surprising times there from you, Ed, maybe, seeing as the other Quest master?
The Ernest for Chicken one, that's the one people are saying is like one of the hardest. So the fact that they've still been able to beat the platinum by nearly 20 seconds is quite impressive. I would love to know how. Like, whoever has that one, like those levers in that basement, they must have them like memorized down to a T to be able to go that fast.
Absolute lockdown, I'm sure. Maybe they were just a veteran of Deadman mode and have done the quest like 50 times to get the accumulator. Awesome. All right, and then our last image for the stream so far is going to be the Graceful Transmog. Just to be a little bit of a reminder, here is a look at the Transmog that you can get from Quest Speedrunning. Hopefully it will come up, because at the moment it doesn't look all that great. It's actually that good you can't see it.
It's so fast, it's invisible.
It's a metaphor
Production.
for the fact that people can't purchase it yet.
Yeah. A good one, actually. We have a question about that coming up. I'll let you answer it. There we go. It's up now. So yeah, this is available at 1,800 reward points, which you'll be able to get when the next quests in the Quest Speedrunning mode comes out. But oh my god, what a fantastic outfit that really is.
Beautiful. I will definitely go and get this, because screw wearing regular Graceful when this is in the game, you know?
I just fear that, well, not fear, but I know what's going to happen now. The next time that we do like a themed quality of life area, and it's going to be about visual updates, it will be, can all the other Graceful recolors get the same kind of treatment as this? And I'm all for it, to be fair, because it looks incredible. Really, really good. Okay, all right. Well, now that that's out of the way, we have some general questions, and then we'll run through the speedrun questions that we've gathered for today. So, first up, it's a little bit of a cop-out question, because we actually had this prepared before the blog went live, but it was just in case the blog didn't manage to go out today. But it is, if we can explain the rules on community chucking. So I would, in all honesty, say the best thing to do is go to !RWT, because it will head you to the blog directly. But in essence, we have highlighted that, in essence, like basically community chucking is against the rules. It is a bannable offense, so don't do it. But all of the information and more is within that blog. So !RWT will give you everything that you need to know. Next question on here is in regards to Tombs of a Massacre, in fact, and I know this is quite a hot topic within the community, especially around a certain weapon of sorts, but basically asking if the TOA drop rates are going to be released anytime soon.
All right, let me talk about this. So, short answer, yes. We want to release the Tombs of a Massacre drop rates next week. So, give us some time to get that together, and we'll get that out to you. But I did want to talk about releasing drop rates more broadly. It's something that we've been pretty inconsistent with, and the community has rightly pointed this out on numerous occasions. Sometimes you get it soon, sometimes you have to wait quite a while. We're not super transparent when we even make changes to drop rates and stuff like that. So we want to be more consistent. And so going forward, what we're going to commit to is that we will start giving you the drop rates 2 weeks after content launches. So next time we release a boss, the drop rates for its unique stuff would come 2 weeks later. And we're going to try and stick to that with every launch. That is because we still want to keep the mystery at launch. Like, we don't want to launch it and here you go, here's all the drop rates in the launch post. I feel like that's wrong. I feel that there is value to the mystery at the start. But we also don't want to keep you waiting. Players can already sort of mass, analyze this stuff. The wiki can obviously track this sort of stuff and start putting rates out and estimating them. We feel it's better to just be transparent rather than you all trying to guess what's going on. The other thing we'll commit to is when we make changes to drop rates, we will be much more clear about what's changing. So let's say it's in that first 2-week period, we don't know what the rates are, we will give you percentages. So we will say this drop rate has increased by X% or decreased by X%. So at least we're being clear about what's changed and why. And then after the 2 weeks, obviously, we can carry on being completely transparent. If we've told you it's 1 in 50 and we change it at that point, we could tell you it's now 1 in 60, for instance. So yeah, we want to start doing this properly so that you know what to expect, basically, rather than it being completely up in the air. We get the questions every single week on the Q&A. When's the TOA drop rates coming out? Going forward, that shouldn't be necessary because it should be the same every time. So do let us know your thoughts on that, and we'll be communicating this in writing as well next week when we announce the Tombs of a Mascot drop rates.
Awesome. Thank you, Kieren. I think chat were pretty happy, at least, especially in the whole 2-week release window. It's always been a bit of a difficult one to manage with the past being down to the individual developer. And I think, how long was it until you released the rates of Chambers of Xeric? It was years, wasn't it? Like officially going over
quite
them.
a long one. Yeah.
And then I remember Barrows as well.
Raids are always a little bit more complicated. Because raids, obviously, you've got all these different systems. Death affects the raid. It's more complex than just Abyssal Demons 1 in 5/12 for a whip, you know? So it will take us a little bit more time to get the bullet points together and explain it.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate the explanation and run through of that, Kieren. Hopefully the community are also in favor of it. Seems so. All right, next general question, and the last for now is in regards to Poison Dynamite, and we just asked when that is due to release. Maybe Rock, if you want to take this one on.
So yeah, we had the beta recently, so and the mod who has been working on that content has been working diligently on the feedback. And we expect to be able to reopen the beta with the changes applied to it very soon. Likely, you say next few weeks? I think 3 weeks, maybe 2. I can't remember, but we're looking to run it basically as soon as possible, so we can go through another round of feedback and then fully launch the content.
Awesome, thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, because I'm sure there'll be people wondering, like, why is it taking so long? Originally, we had a particular design that was intended to work in a certain way, and that design has obviously changed quite a bit now after the first few betas that we had. And if that would be, the kind of like reasoning as to why it's now taken that long, and we want to do another beta just to make sure, right?
Yeah, that's kind of been the theme of most of Pulse 76, whereas this is actually the last job of it. Thankfully, before we move on to Pulse 77, which I believe will be coming soon. Will be coming to players soon with kind of like an explanation. I know the dates. I wasn't going to leak it. But
you can leak it if you want. Oh, hold on, wait. Sani, Mod Sani, if you're in the chat, can we leak the date of the Pulse 77 blog as soon as you're working on it? I'll keep my eyes peeled, and then I'll let Rock have the pleasure of saying when it's going out.
Well, to be honest, I'll be saying soon because I knew it is very soon, but I can't remember the exact number. But yeah, it's okay. That blog will have an explanation kind of what happened with Pulse 76 and why it kind of went the way it did. What we're looking to do with Pulse 77, and like myself and Kieren have had quite a few discussions recently about how we want to deal with more quality of life polls moving forward, and it kind of gives an outline on what we hope to do over like the next 12 months.
Awesome. Well, you don't have to wait too long. Modsani said, yeah, sure, it's redacted, but I guess since I have the ultimate power anyway. Oh, this feels good. It's going to come out tomorrow, and trust me, it is a banger. So keep an eye out for Pulse 77 blog coming out your way tomorrow. Lots of stuff in there, whole bunch of changes. I think it's a really, really strong blog as well. So Sani's done a great job putting it together with the rest of the team. So yeah. Okay, now we can move on to some speedrunning questions. And if you weren't already sick of my voice, you probably will be after this one, because it is the longest question I think that I've ever seen. So bear with me. I'll try my hardest to read correctly and see how this goes. I always feel like as well, the first sentence is a little bit like, I don't know, it's a bit intimidating, to be honest. This is an honest question without the intention of hating on the team. But how did the idea for Quest Speedrunning come about? I feel like this is a game mode which appeals to a very niche set of players, and I'd love to see where the Game Jam projects are at. Could you explain more about why the decision was made to implement Quest Speedrunning above other projects, which might have had more appeal to the main game players? Also, can you compare how much effort it is to implement this game mode in comparison to a league?
There's 3 questions in there. Is that cheating?
Kind of, but...
Okay, I will try to answer all of that. This will be quite a long answer because there is quite a few questions in there, but try and make sure I cover it all. If I don't, just let me know. So, first up, how did the idea for Quest Speedrunning come about? So, as we sort of mentioned earlier in the stream, we have a very dedicated speedrunning community on Oldschool. Yes, small, but absolutely very dedicated. They've been longing for some official support for a very long time. And from that, the idea was born when it's actually interesting that game jams get mentioned here, because the idea actually started out from that as a personal project for myself and a few other members on the team. So we put together a prototype for Quest Speedrunning in our free time. And then following on from that, some people might remember that earlier this year, when we did the annual survey, we included a question about whether people would be interested in seeing Quest Speedrunning come to the game officially. And where am I now on these questions? Yes, niche set of players is the next question, which is perfect, rolling onto that nicely. So, be honest about the results of that question. There was a significant number of players who answered that question with, "This does not interest us in the slightest." I think it was over 50% of respondents said, "Nope, not interested whatsoever." But the thing about developing content is, it's not this like binary system of like it's worth it or it's not worth it. While there may have been 50% of respondents saying we're not interested in that, that means there were still nearly 50% saying they were. So while yes, very much a niche piece of content, that doesn't necessarily mean we dismiss it out of hand right away. And that, I think, conveniently leads us on to the next bit of the question. Is about how much effort it was and why the decision was made to do that above other projects. So we'll talk about the effort part first and then the other projects part. So effort-wise, as mentioned, the beauty of this one is a lot of it was already done. We did it in our free time, so it wasn't stealing development time away from anything else. I can absolutely promise that. A huge amount of this work was already done, and that was one of the reasons we pitched it. And the remaining work needed to complete it was very, very small. To put it in sort of like perspective, the team that finished off work on Quest Speedrunning is the one that just delivered Tombs of a Mascot. So in the gap between Tombs of a Mascot is now, that's the time we needed to finish it off. And it wasn't even all of us doing it. As you'll have seen, every week we've been delivering quite notable Tombs of a Mascot like feedback updates. So it's been very, very small to finish off. So this has not taken much effort. It's interesting when we swiftly compare it to a league, because leagues, don't get me wrong, they're great, but they are quite possibly one of the biggest things for us to develop. They are huge undertakings, and this in comparison was tiny. So, yep, absolutely. It's a niche piece of content. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but it did not take too much time to develop. So if people are worried that, oh no, it's taken time away from our projects, absolutely not. And that leads us on to the last bit about like prioritizing. And we don't, our development team is quite big now. We don't just have everybody working on one thing. We kind of had that once upon a time, a long time ago, when there was about 4 or 5 developers on the team. But now we have, 15 content developers or something like that? So the old school team is split into lots of smaller teams, all working on different things at once. So it's not like speedrunning was prioritized over something else. There's just lots of things happening at once. Speedrunning was one of them. As mentioned, the team working on it, same team that's just delivered Tombs of a Mascot. And while working on speedrunning, we have also kicked off another new exciting project, which I'm personally very looking forward to, and we cannot talk about today. But rest assured that speedrunning is not the only thing going on. There is plenty of other things going on. I think I might have covered all the individual questions in there. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a few things I haven't even mentioned. Like there's some really nice side effects of doing quest speedrunning. It finally gives us the ability to let people replay quests. That's something we've had requests for quite a while. Some of the new tech we added for speedrunning is stuff we can use elsewhere. In fact, some of it we've already rolled out to the main game. But some of the stuff we did for speedrunning, the ability to hide options dynamically on NPCs when they die. Some of the quest list stuff, when we reworked the quest list earlier this year to let you sort by like difficulty and stuff, all of that came out of the tech we made for speedrunning. So when you put all of that together, it was kind of a no-brainer to do it, really. So hopefully that is a reasonable answer. Hopefully it reassures some people that we've not shoveled huge amounts of development time into this niche game mode, and that there are other things going on, and hopefully some people could appreciate that it's okay to support niche communities sometimes and give them a little bit of content. They have been patiently waiting quite a while, the speedrunning community.
I love that. I think you did a really good job of answering it, Ed. So yeah, hopefully everyone else feels so as well. I'm aware that there's a bunch of other questions, so I was going to ask if anyone else wanted to add anything to it, but we may end up actually have opportunities to do that with the other ones. So I'll move on from there, just because people may have actually forgot what the question was by now. But do really appreciate it, Ed. I think that was fantastic. Thank you. So the next question that we have here is that I've always loved watching speedruns of games I love, and I'm super excited to see that playstyle officially added into Oldschool. So a big thank you from that. From a development standpoint, what was the thought process on which quests were used for speedrunning? And are there any quests that got vetoed upon discussion?
We went back and forth on quite a few different ideas. There were quite a few like different lists for like the initial set of quests proposed. And in the end, we went with, as a starting point, the 5 iconic free-to-play quests that we've gone with, because it felt that just sort of like made sense as a starting point. One thing worth noting, we'll probably go into a bit more detail later on, is that the hope is that this is just the beginning, that we do add more quests to the speedrunning worlds over time. And with that in mind, like, it made sense to start at the beginning with some of those first quests, those most memorable quests that people are playing through. That was sort of like the main reason. There's other things as well. So one thing that people will have likely noticed playing through the quests we've enabled for speedrunning is that despite being an MMO, we haven't always been brilliant at letting people engage with content at the same time. Particularly some of the older quests often require a lot of queuing, and we have had to make a few tweaks to try and reduce that as much as possible. For example, if you're doing the Vampire Slayer speedrun, you might notice on Speedrunning Worlds you fight him in an instance, so it's only you in there, as opposed to on the main game where you can get like as many players as you want in there in one go. So that itself was actually one of the reasons of going for these quests as well. They're quite small and like not as complicated, so it was a bit easier to make sure there wasn't too many bottlenecks. And on a similar note, that's when we look at the first few quests we're planning to add post-launch, which again we'll probably talk about a bit more in a minute, we've also chosen quests that are quite recent, like new quests we've just added, because with those ones we've, on the whole, hopefully done a much better job at letting, like, reducing bottlenecks and stuff like that. But that said, there isn't really any limit on this when it comes to like adding quests to this in the future. I don't think there's any red lines, any quests that could never be added. There's a few that would be quite difficult. I'm not sure how the best way to tackle adding a quest like Shield of Arav, for example, but on the whole, there's no reason why we couldn't add any quest we wanted, and hopefully over time we add quite a lot.
Awesome, thank you, Ed. Well, I can skip the next question now because you just covered it there as well, and that was, will there be new quests added? And the answer to that is yes.
Yep,
is there a particular...
I guess we can specifically say on that one. Sorry, I talked over you.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say we could specifically say that there will be 10 new quests added over the next few months. We've already confirmed what they are. The next 2 specifically are Prince Ali Rescue and Beneath Cursed Sands. We thought doing those 2 next would be nice, considering we've just done Tombs of a Mascot and that storyline. And then there's 8 more beyond that we'll be adding over the next few months. But hopefully we'll add even more beyond that.
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Ed. Is there a particular quest that you're looking forward to adding in particular, or anyone else in the stream at the moment? Kieren and Rock, maybe you have your favorites.
Rat catchers.
Oh, you're evil.
You don't mean that. Take it back.
I said earlier there were no red lines. I've changed my mind. There's a red line. It's rat catchers.
Time for a rat catchers too, then, isn't it?
I will say imp catcher because I saw it in the chat. I thought that was hilarious. Just pure RNG of trying to get the 4
Just
beats.
sounds like frustration to the max. All right. I think for
You two
me,
are
I
just both
want
terrible
to.
people. You're just both sat there
Yeah,
like, oh, let's give them the worst experience possible. Let's just sit there and laugh at them as they have to experience those quests.
How else are we supposed to get the fun?
For me personally, I want to see like a bigger quest come out, and for me, I'd have to choose Dragon Slayer 2. Big fan of that quest. It was like the first piece of content that I worked on when I joined Jagex, so holds a special place in my heart. Got me ever closer to the wonderful mod Ed as well. But I just think it's such a brilliant quest that I'd love to see how well that could be done in a speedrun setting, given how many things there are that go into it as well.
Well, do I have some good news for you, because Dragon Slayer 2 is one of the 10 quests we'll be adding over the next few months.
And there we go then. All right, cool. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. All right, we have a little bit more of a negative question now. It's not really that negative, but it comes across in such a way. And I know that there's been a
negative
bit of
questions.
Oh, I know, but like the community have been a little bit sad by this one. I know that Reddit in particular we're not very happy, and there are some players that want to get their cool looking outfit and they can't. So the question is, why did we decide to make the Graceful outfit unobtainable on the launch month? So we know that it can be obtained in the months following release, but at the moment the maximum points you can get is 1600, and the tier 3 outfit is 1800. So what was our reasoning behind the decision, which I personally think was a good decision, but I'll let the rest of you speak.
It was just because of that plan to add more quests post-launch. I appreciate it's a bit frustrating. You go from a shop interface, you see it there, it feels like it's so close but so far. But we wanted to make sure we balanced the rewards around where speedrunning would be like in a few months rather than just where it is on launch. So we wanted to make sure we took into account the points people would be getting from those post-launch quests as well. Now, that said, if you're really good and getting platinums, you as early as next month, when the next 2 quests get added, is when you'll be able to get the tier 3 outfit. So it's not too long to wait to get it, hopefully.
I think just to add a little bit to that, if we were to make the rewards available on the initial launch, I think the last thing we kind of wanted to set an expectation is that every time we add some quests or whatever, we'd add a new bunch of rewards, just so that there is always a new reason to go back. So I think it'll be a case of, as we continue adding quests forward, if we do kind of find some really cool rewards that we want to add in and such things like that, then they'll just get added in over time, and it might require you to kind of wait the next couple of months to get the next set of rewards as well, or as you come down the line, you could use some of the new quests to go get some of the older rewards if you perhaps weren't able to hit platinum on everything. So it's a system that's built for longevity, and agreeing with Ayiza, it was the right way to do it.
Just to speak a little bit more, I see this first 5 months, these first batches, as kind of like an experiment. We've obviously seen the launch this week, but we see it as this ongoing. I mean, as you just said, longevity is the right word. I don't know words anymore. Longevity is the right word. I see this as something that is like, it creates that little event each month. There's a couple more quests being added. I like doing it a small bit at a time because it creates the community conversation around those quests. Community competitions can be set up because, oh gosh, Dragon Slayer 2 should be added to the system. Let's make a competition around that. It means everyone's focused on the same quest at once. Imagine if we added all 150 odd quests at the same time. Everyone's doing different things. It's not as interesting, I think, as releasing them 1 by 1 or 2 by 2. Ultimately, what we will do is, after we've done these first batches, think about how do we want to move forward. I'd imagine then when we think about, okay, let's do a few more batches, that's the time where we'll be looking at more rewards and so on. And we also got to structure it in a way where we can, like, if we're going to be pulling all these rewards as we add more, like, it needs to be quite manageable for us. And we're also thinking about that stuff Ed was talking about earlier. This is cheap. Let's do it in a way as developers that we are doing it cost effectively as well.
I mean,
Amazing.
I might be preempting another question here, but I think it's a case of, like, who says that it has to stop at quests eventually? It's one of those things that we start with something that's kind of iconic and
Please let
people
me
have
ask the
wanted.
question, Ross.
No, I'm stealing all the credit. And
I thought you had to skip 3 questions because we've covered them all as part of answers. You're all too
Well,
good. You're all too on point.
making it 4. But yeah, like, obviously we have quite big speedrunning communities in things like raids and bosses, and we have things with timers on already. So it's a case of look at the amount of expansions that we can make to it, and just because we've launched with a little bit now and people might not like it in its current position, we'll be waiting to be able for until there's enough quests to go get the reward. That's not to say that we're not looking at the end game as well.
Awesome. Wait, before we carry on, let me at least just ask the question, because I'm sure there's more to speak about this. First of all, can confirm new rewards will be added to the Quest Speedrunner in the future. I think Kieren just covered that part. But the question that we did get was if we could see speedrunning worlds encompass PVM activities such as bossing in the future. Some other great ideas that we've seen include speedruns to Tutorial Island or Champions Guild, and perhaps even a mode for clue scrolls.
I do think that's all really cool. Obviously, these are some of the things that the speedrunning community already does. I believe the Dragon Slayer speedrun is one of the classic ones to get into the Champions Guild. So I'd love to support that. As I kind of said just now, like, we see this as it's quite experimental. This is pretty unique for MMOs, full stop. We're trying something quite different here. We'll see how it goes, and obviously that's when we can start to think, okay, yeah, this is awesome. Let's add these other slightly different variants of speedruns and so on. Because, hey, I've loved what I've seen so far. It's only been a day, and seeing some of the videos coming out of people working out new strats for what seem like incredibly simple quests. I'm sure it's going to be, like, mind-shattering to see what people come up with for, like, longer quests, like Dragon Slayer 2 and so on, let alone other types of content. So can't wait to see that. I mean, my dream is I'd love to see somebody speedrun Oldschool at, like, GDQ or one of the GDQ events. And I'm quite happy to see us doing stuff that helps support niche communities, because MMOs are bigger than the sum of their parts. You know, Oldschool thrives when each of its parts are thriving, rather than just one. If we only ever paid attention to the majority, we'd just be releasing new bosses every week and not much else.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Maybe these ones will be a little bit shorter. I've just lost where I am in the question sheet now. I think the next one, though, was a question around leaderboards. Will there be a leaderboard for each quest? And will it be possible to see time-based high scores?
I would love to see time-based high scores. Not just for this, but just in general. The technology isn't there at the moment, unfortunately, but hopefully one day we get to see that. There are conversations that we've had internally about is this something we could do. I guess the good news is in the meantime, we actually mentioned it at the start of the stream. There are unofficial leaderboards, player run, that people can get involved in.
Yep. You can do, was it !speedrun for more information on that if you're interested in going to speedrun.com/OSRS. All right, thank you for that, Ed. Next question is, why is speedrun gear set with basic stats and items? Could we see the ability to pick anything we like so we can test the absolute fastest time that quest can be completed?
We had a lot of back and forth on like how best to like gear players up for a speedrun, and in the end we settled on what we have, which is like a custom loadout for each quest. And the reason we did that is, despite the name speedrunning, it's not just about going fast. It's also a huge part of it is about strategy. If we gave people all relevant items, it just removes so many options. Like some of the things that like Kieren was mentioning earlier, like the composter bucket strat and stuff like that. Like you wouldn't see that if we gave all the items needed. So that's why we chose to go with the loadouts to like maximize like decision making and like working out what is the best route to take, what are the best items to grab. Like if we're not giving you a sword, then you sort of have this question like, where do I buy a sword? Do I actually go pick up a bow instead? And it is those sorts of questions that are actually like right now we're seeing making the difference between people getting a gold trophy or a platinum trophy. No spoilers, but if you're doing Vampire Slayer with a sword, you might be doing it wrong. Now that said, obviously the previous question we talked about things we'd like to add in the future, and something I would quite like to see in the future is us adding like alternate loadouts. So maybe like for each quest, it's just like an unlimited one where we give you like the Tournament World supply chest and let you pick whatever you want. Those ones can just be about trying to do it as fast as possible. I'd love to see something like that in the future, but for launch we felt it made most sense to go with these loadouts. And I guess on that note, it's also worth noting that the quests are adding over the next few months, you'll see a similar thing where each one is going to have a custom loadout. For the higher level ones, the longer ones, like Dragon Slayer 2 and Beneath Cursed Sands, we will give you some weapons and stuff, because for them it's going to be a bit much starting to ask people to go, oh, just go farm your Bandos for a while as part of this speed run. So for the higher level stuff, we are giving out some items. But for the lower level ones, where the armor and weapons are easy to obtain, they become part of the strategy of it, which is why we wanted to do it this way.
Awesome, thank you for that, Ed. Do appreciate it. Okay, next question then is there a reason why NPC locations aren't static? So a single might keep them in the wrong spot, which could mean the difference between 1 or 2 seconds on a personal best, for example.
So one of the good things about the way we've put speedrunning together, both in like the usability, but also in the maintenance, is that we have just built it into the existing quest system. And what that means is that, like, while they are on separate worlds with separate saves, it's not a separate game. It's all speedrunning is all still built into the actual core of the game itself. And like I say, that's good in some ways, great for usability. It's immediately easy to understand. It's very, very easy for us to maintain. Like adding a new quest for speedrunning takes all of 5 minutes to actually do it. The only really hard part is the like balancing the times. But there is the downside of that, because it is still technically part of the same game, that some things like making NPCs static, stuff like that, we wouldn't be able to do without impacting the base game as well. Is the unfortunate side of that. It would have been a nice thing to do, but it's just one of those ones that wasn't possible. That said, we have made sure that those kinds of things, like an NPC being like a tile out of place, that they should never be like the difference when it comes to trophies. So like getting a platinum trophy should never rely on like perfect positioning of NPCs. There should always be plenty of room to maneuver. So that sort of thing does only impact like the people going for like the global bests.
An RNG is a perfectly expected part of like world record speedrun attempts in pretty much every speedrun game. I mean, everyone must have seen the news of the drama with Minecraft and a certain famous creator and the cheating scandal and accusations and all of that stuff. That was all centered around RNG and potential cheats that changed the drop rates of items to make it easier to get good attempts. Like, RNG is standard as part of speedruns, and if you're going for world records, there's no way we'd be able to minimize it entirely. How far do you go? Do you make flour 100% of a drop rate from imps? I don't think we should be messing with stuff like that. And it just opens up a humongous can of worms that, as long as we are balancing the trophy times, as Ed says, correctly for what is the more casual use of speedrunning, I think we're fine.
Great stuff. Thank you both. Appreciate the discussion. We have another question that's kind of similar in a way, is a little bit more specific about a particular quest. And this one is in regards to the Dark Wizard and the aggression in the Delriff fight that can cause frustration for some players as the area is single-way combat and it can actually prevent you from attacking Delruff himself. So what would be our thought process around changing legacy quests in Quest Speedrunning? Would we want to change this or keep it the same way as it is currently?
Can I just start? This quest is so stupid for doing this in the first place. It's like, oh, what a moment! You finally got the 3 keys. You've got the sword. It's so epic. You walk to the summoning location. Oh, it's so epic. Delruff spawned. Oh my god, I'm terrified. You can't attack him because the wizards attacked you instead.
You hyped up that quest way more than it deserves. Oh my god!
Let's be honest. It's ridiculous. The boss spawns and you can't even attack you. Because it's single combat, and the wizard, which is far more dangerous, by the way, is attacking you.
You can, and that is part of the strat. That there is a way that you can go in, and the wizards will not.
Watch Solo Mission's video; he shows you how to do it.
Yeah,
that's
it's quite
kind
cool
of like
from a speedrunning point of view.
Yeah,
this is.
Yeah,
it's very much one of those ones where, like, you're absolutely right. It's stupid. Why is it this way? Like, this isn't a speedrunning specific issue. This is just an issue in general. Any new player, like, it's just horrible. But ironically, on speedrunning worlds, that terrible bit of gameplay actually becomes part of a strategy in some ways of finding interesting ways of getting around it. And as mentioned, there are some things you can do to like avoid this or at least minimize it. So yeah, it weirdly becomes part of a strategy.
Fair enough. All right, there we go. I think we have our answer on that. We have 2 questions left that are specific to Quest Speedrunning. Then we've got some chat questions. I think this is the first time we'll actually get through to chat questions that I remember in a long time. That's incredible. This question is in regards to plugins, and they ask, if a plugin comes out that shows an ideal path for speedrunning the quests, would it be banned or allowed? Assume it would highlight in blue all menu options and what items to buy out of shops, then a line on the ground of where to go to get to the next step of the quest fastest. This sounds like something that already exists, to be honest, but maybe if it was further optimized purely for Quest Speedrunning, what would we do about that?
I mean, can we not ban the one that it's based on anyway?
I knew you were going to say that, Mr. Grumpy over here.
I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's worth a discussion, though, about whether this would just undermine Quest Speedrunning by removing those thoughts. I mean, it's not a huge difference between looking up a video of somebody doing the Platinum Trophy and copying it, but obviously it makes it a little bit easier when it's highlighting it all in game.
I'm not actually too worried about if something like this did exist, about it having an impact on like leaderboards and world records and that sort of thing, because to be honest, realistically, anyone going for best time, they have memorized every little step anyway. But yeah, it is. Speedrunning helper doesn't exist yet, but if it did, yeah, it would be worth having a conversation.
I mean, to be clear, I think, imagine you're at GDQ. You're about to do your Dragon Slayer speedrun section, and you boot up the client, and it's just blue highlights everywhere showing you how to do the speedrun. I think that's a bit rubbish. So
yeah, maybe for practice, like if you're doing it in practice, it's like fair, but
yeah. Now we're not going to dictate the rules of like the speedrun community, because speedrun communities in most games are sort of community ran, right? Speedrun.com exists for that reason. You have players make custom rules for their speedruns, and you have to do video evidence and all of this sort of stuff. I expect that to be similar for this, for old school in terms of the world record scene, anyway.
I think that's as fair as we can be in that, given the situation hasn't fully occurred just yet. So I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Even your input, Rock.
All right,
I think last question.
Just to clarify, I think at this point I just meme about that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, I'm imagining the like crying face mask emoji where it's like, you know, crying behind but smiling face in front. That's you right now. Like, yeah, just me.
Absolutely.
All right, before I get assaulted by Rock next time I see him, the last question that we have before we move on to chat questions is if there will be a practice mode that will allow players to practice some of the more difficult quests without starting a timer. or is the speedrun mode itself the practice tool?
Yeah, I'd say that's sort of like the beauty of it. Like there is no punishment on speedrunning worlds for abandoning or restarting your speedrun. You can do it over and over again, as many attempts as you want. So it is the practice mode. I'm not quite sure if this question's asking about a practice mode for specifically for speedrunning or for quests in general. So I mean, regardless,
well, we have a
I imagine
question
some
from
people
chat about that we can move on to in a second. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wonder if maybe they're thinking of particular. Well, there's two things, right? It could be that the pressure of a timer is just too much and it makes you crumble, so you want to practice without it, so then you can go with the timer on. Or if maybe they missed out a part of the question and they're actually wondering if there are particular like steps that you could do and practice those individual steps over and over to kind of like refine them without having to do the entire quest.
My understanding is this is probably more like I want to practice the Dragon Slayer 2 boss or something like that.
Yeah,
or,
that's
or
what
like
I was wondering.
Their main account or hardcore and so on.
So I guess in answer to that, you don't have to have completed a quest on your main account to speedrun it. So from that side, yes, you could do the quest on Speedrunning Worlds first as a practice. But you can't practice individual sections of a quest. You would have to play through the whole thing, and every time you abandon or restart it, you're starting from the beginning. And something else we should probably also note is that while we've already said we want to keep adding quests to this and build it up, there is no plan to ever launch quests simultaneously in the main game and on Speedrunning Worlds at the same time. So we'd never be enabling a quest for speedrunning on its launch day. There would always be a gap before any new quests, so you wouldn't be able to use it to practice in that way.
Awesome. Thank you, Ed. And if you saw my face during that moment, it was not because of your response. It was some interesting chat interaction that I got distracted with, so I apologize. All right, we've got some time for some questions. Let's try and blast through these then. The first one that came in from chat, I saw this come up quite a few times, and I think I saw Mudlight actually respond and see if we could get this in. So this one's for you, Mudlight, and whoever it was that asked. Can you explain more about why replaying quests on a main account is technically not practical to do?
I guess the easiest way to answer this is to explain what we do on Speedrunning Worlds. So on Speedrunning Worlds, whenever you hit that reset button or that start speedrun button, we literally wipe pretty much the entirety of the save game of the account. We save a few things, like we save like settings and stuff like that, so you have to redo your keybinds. But on the whole, everything gets wiped. All your inventories, any variables that we're tracking for anything on, all your skills, everything else, all gets set back to 0. And then we set up the quest for you. And you could probably guess why we wouldn't want to do that on people's main accounts. And that is a thing, like, to be able to replay a quest, so much needs resetting, not just for the quest itself, but for everything afterwards. Like, oh, I want to replay, I don't know, say I'm a bit crazy and I decide I want to replay Darkness of Halavale for some unknown reason and go through Maya Ditch again. But I've already done Taste of Hope and Sins of a Father. Do you reset those as well? I've done Sins of a Father, unlocked Darkmire, gone to the Hallowed Sepulchre and got the pet there. Do you take the Hallowed Sepulchre pet away? Like, how much do you reset? Like, to do it properly, like, surely everything. And it's stuff like that that is why we do it on these separate worlds and why it's just not possible to do on main accounts. There's just too much risk of, well, doing one of two things. Either accidentally messing up your save game permanently, or not doing enough and putting you in a weird state where you have a quest that's like half completed. So doing it on separate worlds makes it nice and safe.
That was a bloody brilliant explanation. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. Okay, next one is if Melzar's Maze will be instanced. See this crop up quite a few times over the last day.
This comes back to what we were on about earlier of, despite being an MMO, as a not always very friendly on like multiple people doing the same thing at once. Yeah, we instanced the bosses speedrunning, but not Melzar's maze. It would be a nice thing to do at some point, but it's not something I can commit to right now. I think it'd be a good thing to do. To be honest, the weird things about stuff like this is it'd be good to instance a lot of these on normal worlds. Well, it'd be good for these places to be instanced in general. That's how we do newer quests. You avoid bottlenecks entirely by just making sure that anything like that is instanced, so as many people can do it as they want. Problem is, while that's great on paper, the game has been like this for so long that whenever you start having conversations like this, you soon find yourself running into risks of, oh, but there's now a strategy on the main game where limited accounts can complete this quest by taking an ult and having the ult do this, and suddenly you start instancing it, that isn't possible anymore, and you're changing metas that have been established for a long time. So, while it probably would be a nice thing to do in general, if we did do it, it probably would just be for speedrunning worlds.
Fair enough, that makes sense. Thank you again, Ed. And then last question from the chat about quest speedrunning is if we can add trophies to the quest list so players know which quests have already had platinum achieved.
It would be nice to show this. The only issue is the quest list is already showing a lot of information. You can already sort it, like filter it by so many different categories. I do worry how many more we can add on top of that before it starts to have performance issues. But we can look into it. Again, not something I'm like committing to immediately, but something at some point in the future would be good to look at.
Can we just use the colours, given that you're not going to have like green quests and yellow quests in the same way, because obviously you're not actually completing quests permanently.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, well, I think we do use yellow to show the quest you're currently speedrunning, but there might be a way we can sort of do it nicely, where it's like red if you've got no trophies, yellow you've got some, green you've got all, and the one you're currently speedrunning is, I don't know, it's like blue or something.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. We've got one last question then, and then I'll go back over the announcements and we can rewatch that fantastic video from the Schooled. And this is a general one that came in from the chat. I'm not sure how much of an answer we can give right now, but I know at least I've been thinking about it somewhat. And that is if there has been any discussion about adjusting the Fang drop rate, or are we happy with its current state?
I think this is a discussion we need to have if we plan to change anything. I'm not aware of any decision or anything that's concretely been decided thus far. So I'm not sure we have a good answer to give you, whether we're happy or not at the minute.
I presumed as much because where it currently sits is that we're aware the community has been raising it as a potential issue. So it's something that we're looking into. We're not just going to make a knee-jerk reaction based off, perception. So we do what we will typically do: have a look at the data, figure out if there needs to be a change, and if so, then we'll let you know about it. But we are still yet to have that discussion. But at least this, if nothing else, is confirming the fact that we have seen the comments that have been made about it at least. So it's inevitable that we will at least investigate it further and see if anything needs to be done. And on that was the last question that I've got time for. So let me quickly go back over the announcements that we had today. So !game update. This week's update brought about Quest Speedrunning. You can find out everything to do with it, as well as the tweaks that we made to Tombs of a Massacre with !game update. We also have !WBR, because it is time to cast your vote, as the Wilderness Boss rework rewards are being polled right now. You can read all about that in our Wilderness blog with !WBR. If you haven't already voted, head to a poll booth in-game or open up your account settings panel from anywhere, and you can vote through there as well. Then lastly, we have !RWT. Got it right again this time. Recently, we have seen discussions involving certain activities within Oldschool RuneScape becoming more prevalent. So we just wanted to take an opportunity to reaffirm our stance and highlight the game rules. All that information can be found in !RWT. Mods, Ed, Kieren, Rock, it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate the time that you spent with us on stream today. Do you have any closing words that you want to say before we head off?
Stay gaming, brothers.
Nice. Cool.
Thanks for
well, on
listening.
that. Yeah. There you go. Thanks, Kieren. Ed, anything from you?
No, nothing more. I can't top
No.
that.
Can't top that. All right, absolute poggers. Reminder, Poll 77 is going to be out tomorrow, so you can feast your eyes over that. And as I said earlier, it is an absolute banger, so make sure you check it out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. We'll see you next week, and we're going to leave you with the trailer once more for Fresh Start Worlds, which come out next week. And this has been made by the absolutely talented The Scored. It's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time.